morning. This is Reverend Dore Patlian, bringing you the Science of Mind teaching, taught with heart. As you may remember, Science of Mind expresses that thread of truth that runs through all the great world religions when you boil out the ritual and dogma. It goes back as far as Plato. It goes into early Christianity. The Gnostics were very similar in their beliefs to Science of Mind today, believing that your world is created by your thinking, and that to change your world, you change your thinking. Today, let's talk about one of our greatest powers, the power of imagination. That divine mind, that great soul that we call God, has given us three great gifts that empower us to create any life experience in which we can believe. The first of these gifts is will. The volition or willpower to choose a course of action and to hold to it through thick and thin is the basis of our freedom of action as human beings. The second gift is intellect or mind. This is the gift that allows us to adapt, to think, to reason, and to triumph over adversity. But the greatest of the three gifts, and the one that is the hallmark of humanity, is imagination. This is the most powerful gift of divine mind because it allows us to move beyond the known, the present, the familiar, and to create places never visited by a human, to experience things never before experienced, to reach new heights and create new wonders that have never before existed. All of human advancement in science, technology, art, music, medicine, religion, philosophy, virtually any field of endeavor you can think of, is due to this power of imagination. Without it, we would be frozen in precedent. We would be caught in the known, the familiar, and no advancement could ever occur. Nothing new can be created, until a mind first conceives it. What we can conceive, we may achieve, but only if we use our imagination. That is the genesis of conception. The gift of imagination is the evidence of the indwelling God within us, for no other creature on this planet possesses the ability to create what has never before existed, to travel in mind to places never seen or never experienced, or to enter alternate states of reality at will. Imagination is the evidence of God within each one of us. All that exists begins in the mind of God or in a human mind, and both depend on the faculty of imagination. We can see the natural flowering of this great gift in our children. Every child lives a vivid imaginal life full of imaginary friends, castles and kings, princes and princesses. The Tooth Fairy and Santa Claus are each very real to a child who spends most of their day in the wonderful land of imagination. What happens to so many of us to stifle that vivid faculty of imagination? Well, our parents force us kicking and screaming into the present world of facts and things and discourage our imaginal flights and fancies. Our teachers join in and make us deal with the here and now instead of what could and should be. Our clergy forced our spirit into an acceptable version of God, heaven, and hell, which leaves very little room for questioning or imagining. By the age of 10, most of us have had a lot of our imagination blunted, and the rest of it put on a starvation diet. Most of us are taught that life is serious business, and this is no time for wool gathering or flights of fancy. Rather than encourage our children to dream of things that have never been and worlds yet to be discovered, we force them down the hewn path of facts and reality. The imagination is the font of all greatness. So the blunting of imagination in our modern world does not bode well for mankind's future. Sometimes it seems that we have no great people anymore, only more or less competent technocrats. There have been great people in the near past: Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King, Ronald Reagan, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. There were were flashes of brilliance in Bill Clinton when he wasn't being a bad boy. But greatness has become a very, very scarce commodity. Perhaps this is because our way of life has changed from an imaginal-based life to a life lived in and through technology. I am not old. I'm a pretty modern fellow. I understand computers. I'm sitting here right now recording this program on a computer. But I have seen the wholesale crippling of imagination. It began about 1950 when television began to take the place of radio as the chief medium of family entertainment. You see, radio was a banquet for the imagination of the young and the old. It gave you the story in words, but you had to paint the picture in your mind as the story unfolded. You ran your own movie in your mind as the characters spoke their lines from the large console RCA or Philco radio in the living room. I remember how much I looked forward to hearing the Western series Gunsmoke on the radio. Yes, young people, Gunsmoke was first a huge radio hit and then came to TV about 1954. William Conrad, the wonderful, very large actor with the deep, commanding voice, played Marshal Matt Dillon on the radio, and to this day he is Matt Dillon to me. Even 20 years of James Arness in the TV role couldn't displace in my mind Conrad's deep growl of a voice or the sound of his spurs walking down the main street of Dodge City, Kansas, USA. Miss Kitty, the Marshal's love interest, was never seen on the radio, but we heard her husky, strong voice. To us radio Gunsmoke fans, Miss Kitty was a proper lady business person running the Long Branch Saloon, not a madam of a brothel, gambling den, and saloon, as we were forced to realize when we saw her on TV. You see, we could make any pictures we wanted. It was our imagination that colored in the spoken story. Radio demanded our active participation. We were partners in the play. Television demands nothing from us. It is a totally passive medium. It provides the entire visual feast with no need for input from our minds at all. Few people fell asleep in front of the huge Atwood console radio, but millions fall asleep in front of the TV each night. Is it any wonder that so many of us lack the imagination to see a better world? To envision a planet free of fear, disease, and poverty? We have been force-fed all we need to know through a TV screen. We are passive watchers of life, not participants. We have become mere spectators of life. I invite you to experience what I am speaking of. Sirius XM Radio has a channel called Radio Classics, and it plays all the great old-time radio programs just as they were. They've been cleaned up and digitalized, so the sound quality is quite good in most cases. 24 hours a day, you can hear some of the greatest programs in history. You can meet Fibber McGee and his wife Molly, probably the most popular comedy radio show of all time. You can travel across America with exciting stories with Johnny Dollar, ace insurance investigator, or fight crime with Lamont Cranston in The Shadow. Laugh with Jack Benny or the Great Gildersleeve. You can experience full-length theatrical productions on the Lux Radio Theater. You can actually experience the original Green Hornet. Yes, it wasn't a movie originally. It was a radio show and one of the most popular. If you have not taken your imagination out for a walk in a long time, tune in to channel 164, I think it's still 164, on Sirius XM Radio and enter a world you never knew existed. I'm blessed to be a baby boomer and just be able to catch the end of the age of imagination and experience being a partner in the story, and then to grow to be an adult in the computer and post-imaginal age when we are spoon-fed our wisdom, opinions, values, and prejudices 24/7 on cable around the world. I don't suppose I have to tell you which I prefer. Well, I'm an old dog trying to learn a new trick. Until next time, may God bless and keep you. This is Reverend Dore Jacques Patlian saying, and so it is.